All right, today we have another awesome guest with us today. Jay is living in the York, Pennsylvania area, which normally I would say is freezing cold up there. But where I am, it is just as freezing cold outside too. I'll reserve that comment for when it warms up next month in March. So we're just going to get to know Jay a little bit. Jay is very passionate about youth and teens and helping them become intentional about what they would like for a career. And so as we explore Jay's story, we're also going to talk about how Web 3.0, Education 3.0 all plays a part in that. And so Jay has a unique story that he wants to share, and we thought it'd be a wonderful idea to invite Jay onto the Creative Genius podcast and share all the wonderful and neat things that he's doing. First of all, welcome Amlin, my co-host. Amlin, how are you?
Doing wonderful. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited to hear from Jay. We share a definite passion on the group of humanity that we like to have an impact with or to serve. So his story is going to be definitely inspiring to me. I already know a little bit, so I'll be looking forward to that. And just as you're listening to this podcast, please just remember that we're a collective. We're all collaborating together in Web 3.0 space. There is no competition because it's not built yet. We don't have to fight over another piece of the pie. We can just build another pie. A bigger pie, yeah. So if Jay says something that kind of piques your interest, if he works with the individuals and the areas that you have a passion for, then please connect. We'll definitely provide his contact information, links, and some more data about him in the posting as well. So Jay, let's give you the floor.
All right, well, it's just great to be here. I've kind of got introduced to Web 3.0 and the metaverse, and specifically trying to harness the benefits of it for young people through Amelin. So just learning about what you guys were doing on LinkedIn, and I just saw the invitation to say, hey, come join us, come collaborate and join in. And I literally just said, okay, I guess they're serious. And I took that step, and here I am. I'm doing really cool things, and really just amazing. Already just how I've seen it really impact young people. So yeah, I just kind of jumped in, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. Thank you to both of you for even extending the invitation to be here on the show. Really glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. And I have to give you kudos because you are curious and you're jumping in there. And that is what people are doing right now. Is there's no right way. There's nobody to really show them the way yet, right? We're all jumping in together, and you have full force just got in and started to play. So will you tell us a little bit about what your intention is before we get into talking about the, what you've learned and how you have been playing? So when you come to this place of possibility, what is your intention, or what was your intention before you even knew about it?
Yeah, so my primary interaction with teenagers is to help them figure out life after 12th. And so, really kind of nailing down career direction, giving them a verifiable fit while they're still in high school, so that they can even use the next several years within their educational experience to customize moving forward in a way that actually gives them readiness for the career we identified as a fit, and also helps them to develop a standout factor for either moving into that job, or if more education is required after high school, to have a really amazing digital portfolio that they could include in along with whatever is next for their required training. So that's kind of like my intention, and the way that I work with teens is around a coaching program I have, but then I do a lot of free workshops for teens and even their parents. So that's kind of what I do, and my emphasis is specifically on career life after 12 stuff. So my intention when I just first heard about some of this stuff was to say, how can I transform my coaching that I'm already doing? How can I make it a much better experience for the teens and the families that I'm serving?
So you were looking a more dynamic space and a way of interaction.
Yeah, yes, for sure. That's a good way of putting it. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. You mentioned something I would just like to ask a question from is you talked about in preparation for career. Can you define what you mean by career as in, looking in our future?
Yeah. So, I mean, I really think of it as life work. That's kind of like a more zoomed out word that I typically use with my clients is life work. Things like job and career. I mean, it's the most common language that we use. So I still use it because it's important to use language that people can identify with. But it's basically, what you wind up doing after high school for making sustenance. I mean, for surviving economically in the world. So it's not really. I don't think of it like a career. It's more like life work. Because years ago, a career was more like it was singular and linear, a start and finish to the end one, and now it's not like that at all. And so I think of it's like having a portfolio of life work, and sometimes a season in life may have you do 2 or 3 things in order to become financially sustainable. And so. And that's a huge hurdle, believe it or not, because I work with teens, but I also, I work with their parents, and I involve myself with the parents. And there's several big hurdles, but one of them is the mindset that, you have to go into a path that's going to wind up being linear and singular, for the rest of your life. And that's just not how the world of work is anymore. And a huge barrier for parents to get over.
I think that's an amazing thing that you do too, is bridging between the way things used to be and that understanding. I mean, a lot of time we do it, right? We're like, we've walked a path, and then our initial thing is to turn around and say, hey, come follow in my footsteps. But you're able to bridge from, hey, follow in my footsteps to, well, hold on, the path has changed. And allow them to discover different or to make their own footsteps, right? Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, just the rate at which brand new industries pop up. And then within those industries, various new opportunities for life work that didn't exist 5 years ago. And then even just the way to get at crafting even preparation. So there's so many ways to really actually become fully prepared for a career, that doesn't involve traditional pathways of education. Now, the gatekeepers may still say, hey, you need that piece of paper, but the true readiness is massively possible without ever, having to utilize or rely on formal traditional methods of life work preparation that typically occur in higher institutions. Between MOOCs, massive open online courses, all kinds of master classes, all these platforms for learning, the ease to reach out and connect with other people for mentorship, and then to engage in relationships over platforms that are conducive for, dialoguing and mentoring. I mean, there are ways to craft a pathway of readiness going forward that are just so non-traditional. And again, most people, they're not aware of them, especially parents. If, parents or teenagers are in their 40s and, somewhere in their 40s, they're operating on an antiquated paradigm, and it's killing their kids because they're trying to force them into a paradigm, and the paradigm's changed, and there's all new opportunities, but parents are often just unaware or fearful. And so they just want to go with what's supposedly the known thing, but the known thing doesn't work that great anymore. So
yeah. How did you just start to discover this transition, Jay? I mean, what brought you to the awareness of, man, things are changing, and then the parents are unaware, and the systems are still teaching the old way? What kind of transition you into? Something's happening here, and I need to get on board to help.
Yeah, I think probably it was my own journey into a sense of working with young people. And, I'm 50 at this point in my life, but this was 7 years ago. And as I started to think about what would it mean for me to leave a 25-year career and be prepared to step into coaching young people, I just started exploring the world of work. And I saw the rise of entrepreneurism. I saw the ways in which people could prepare themselves and grow and develop themselves, often as a side hustle. But once that grew and a base of clients or customers grew, then they would give their 2 weeks notice, so to speak. And so I saw the ability, and I saw, so it was really through the rise of entrepreneurism and seeing so many people make businesses, and then all these people I was encountering who had a podcast, who had a 5-day Facebook challenge, and all these ways to be prepared and equipped. And I started just realizing, wow, there's so much out there in order to, get prepared to launch into very untraditional work in very untraditional ways. So it was kind of my own journey and my own experience, and then trying to stay on top of things so I could help my clients consider non-traditional positions. I'm always researching, what's emerging in the world of work. Sometimes a career may be a viable option and a great new choice. It's not in some of the databases yet because it takes a while for it to become recognized. So I'm always trying to stay ahead so I can help clients say, hey, you might want to think about this. It's kind of, you're not going to find it in some of the research, strategies that we use and some of the databases we use because it's so new. But I want you to be aware of it because it looks like it might be a really great fit for your wiring that we discovered.
Right. So you mentioned something it may not be on the horizon because it's new. So my question is, with my, I don't want to say adoption, but with the popularity and the emergence of Web 3.0, how do you see the Web 3.0 being such a mainstay in what you're trying to do with helping kids discover their next career move?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things come to mind. One is just the ability to learn. I mean, that's a big part of what I do. Is so in my coaching, there's kind of two major phases. One is helping them understand their wiring through an assessment tool I use that's evidence-based. It's not based on their subjective opinion of themselves. It's about their narratives and stories, and it analyzes their behavior without them even knowing it.
Right.
Once we kind of find out their wiring, we then go into a part of the coaching where they're doing heavy career research and learning about a position. And that's really where I see the strength of Web 3.0 and the opportunities to allow them to explore and learn in ways that they prefer. And this is really what's happened already in my coaching. My two most recent clients, I said, hey, would you guys like to try coaching instead of doing it on Zoom? Do you want to do it in my VR lounge? I created a lounge in Metaverse, because Amlin's got me doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, just jumping in, and I built a space, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm going nuts with possibility. But the way that I'm able to coach them and help them learn, it's multi-sensory, and they can say, do you want to read a PDF and then dialogue, or do you want to go watch that video, or do you want to be able to click this and then actually go and explore, but while we're next to each other in virtual reality, and then you just turn around and we can now and then debrief on what we just watched together. They could do reading and then go click a button and a Google Doc pops up, and they could do reflective journaling exercise. So it's like, how do you want to get at this? Do you want to watch and dialogue, watch and write, just go stare out the virtual window and just meditate and then come back and tell you? There's so many ways for them to learn. And, we all know as educators that when you have ownership, the level of interest and motivation just skyrockets. There's a direct linkage between I own how I want to learn and the degree of motivation. I mean, we know that. And so I have loved, when they come into my space, they even get to set the mood. It's like, go click the sphere, and it changes what's outside the window. And you get to control, what do you want to even see outside the window as we're spending time together? Giving more control over what they get to choose allows them to really experience heightened levels of motivation.
I think you just pretty much summarized what Web 3.0 is all about. It's from what do you want? How would you like to do it? And in education, we haven't done that very good, have we? Yeah.
Well,
so go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I asked both my clients, after the first session, I said, hey, because one of them went into Metaverse with me after 3 sessions on Zoom, and the other client started fresh session one was right in the metaverse. So I asked both of them, I said, hey, was this okay for you? Do you want to do Zoom? They're like, no. They're like, this was awesome. Like, no, please don't send me the Zoom bill. So it was just so rich and diverse. They absolutely loved it, and it's so, I know they still don't leave their seat, and they're still in essence looking at a screen, but it's the ability to move around and go over here and then like just turning, because you don't know, like, what am I going to see when I turn there? So the constant second by second, moment by moment discovery of what's around that turn, what's around here. I mean, it just makes you feel so immersed. I couldn't believe it. I was loving it myself. I'm just having a great time watching them really have a much better experience in the learning and the coaching.
Yeah, right.
Oh, there we go. Bringing play back, right?
Yeah, very much so.
So right now, what I think VR right now, I think it's in a very simple form and format. To be honest with you, it's not too fancy. It's not too filled with a lot of bells and whistles. But what I think young people enjoy is so different, right? It's so different from how they learn. It's no longer you sitting in the seat and looking at a whiteboard, all day long, or you're not listening to anybody throw information at you. You have to retain it and regurgitate it back in some form. You're actually in a whole different world, right? Even though to me, now this is my opinion, the VR world will depend on which platform you're on too. It's not, it's not real fancy, but it's so different from what we're used to. It's stimulating.
Yes.
So I think as we continue to move forward with Web 3.0 and VR, I think that the possibilities of how far we can take this is going to be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the platform that Amelin helped me get introduced to is Onyx University and Verbella and Frame VR. And I've seen other ones that, full-bodied avatars. I mean, it's a little more complex. I actually like the platform I'm on because it's simple enough where a student, you just give them the link, they come into the space and they don't have to set everything up. And to your point, Aaron, it's still different and interactive enough. And there's so many varied activities that can go on.
Right.
And they're not saying, oh man, like my avatar can't look like this, or they're in the space and they're loving it. So for me, the simplicity of the platform that I'm currently on, to me, is an asset, not a liability. I'm glad it's simple. It doesn't take a lot of resources to load the screen and have activity. So I love it. I think it's great, for my purposes, for sure.
Right. Cool. You think that's something that you'll continue to push forward with your clients, the Onyx platform?
Yeah. I mean, right now it's super easy to use. You can, bring in assets and simply move them around, set up the room, set up learning experiences. I know in the platform, the Frame VR frames, you can set up different scenes. So you use the same space. So for me, my coaching is 10 weeks. So I just set each week as a scene. So when I click that scene, it immediately brings in, here's what we're going to be reading. Here's the video, clips we're going to be watching. Here's the activities. I set the space up ahead of time. So then it's just clicking the scene, and it works, man. I mean, I'm trying to do everything there. In fact, in 2 weeks, I'm having a free group, a community training for teenagers. So I'm going to have, I think it's up to about 8 or 9 right now, who are planning to join me. So I'm going to have a group of teenagers in the Life After 12th lounge. So I'm excited to just try it, man, for sure.
Right.
So basically you're teaching them how to do it themselves as well? You said you're going to be, you're going to do, right now you're doing individuals, right? You're doing coaching one-on-one in these spaces. But what you're saying is you're going to expand it and bring in a lot of them together into one space.
Yeah, it'll be a group thing. Yeah, and so it was funny because one of my clients last week, his first time in metaverse period, but then in the room, and he was like, "Wow, this is powerful." He's like, "There's so many options and ways to learn." I said, "Well, listen, if you can think of any." And if, as we get going and you're kind of see what I do and some of the possibilities, if you have a way that you want to construct the next session I'll tell you what the content is, but I said, I'll even meet you in here. I'll show you how to drop and drag stuff, and you can set up our session for the next time. Like, and then you teach me, like, you work me through something that you think is relevant and meaningful, but that you have ownership, and I'll be the student. And so, more and more, I would love to be able to do that and just help students actually control the whole space, period. Would be kind of cool to experiment with.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I love that you're prototyping it with them. That's the thing, right? We're getting in and we're learning together. So you with the teenager next to you, it's like saying you may have some discoveries, some possibilities, some ideas that you can bring, and now you're better off for it, and all the teenagers that you help from there on out too. So that's fabulous. Let's talk about the parents' perspective with this new space. How do you think they're embracing the metaverse space?
Yikes. I think it's probably too early for me to get a sense of that. I know in my Life After 12 Facebook group, I have 4 parents of career confused teens. I dropped this, hey, if your teen is interested in doing some free training with me, I'm going to be doing a metaverse group. And they were like, some of them were like, what's that? And then one of them said, oh, are they going to need a headset? So obviously they've heard some things. So again, if the average age of a teen parent is in their 40s somewhere, I don't know where, it's definitely way out of the box for them, to begin with. So unless they're in context that really kind of put VR and Web 3.0 in front of them, maybe in their job or people they know that are into it, they're not going to really encounter that in a way that would give them an understanding. So I know at least the parents I've interacted with so far on this opportunity that's coming up, there was not a whole lot of understanding of exactly what it is. So but that's very small. So I probably don't feel like I could really answer that well enough, Amlin. I just haven't been around parents, and in the topic with them long enough to know.
That's fair to know, because it is just a matter of, they don't know what they don't know. It could be another Zoom kind of platform in their eyes, right? Just another way of meeting. Yep. All right. So help me then understand your long-term goals with this, because you are talking about, I want to help more students. I want to have collective experiences rather than individual. So give me your, 5 years from now, this is what could happen.
Yeah. All right. So definitely, do all the coaching now, as long as students want, like, do all the coaching in there, have even like some paid for courses and things that I want to create, instead of them going to encounter the material, let's say on Thinkific or some of these other courses where they would log in and then they would have, okay, I have PDF files or videos to watch. I want to send them into these spaces. And when they pay for that course or that experience, like they come into the metaverse and have it. It's not, static files or videos, but it's an immersive learning experience. So that's another way, is make the future activities and courses be more immersion experiences. Probably longer term than that, as I can figure this out and I can get better at it, I would love to provide a resource for other people who work with teenagers, whether it's stress coach or whether it's, tutoring or whether it's college admissions coaching. I would love to be able to, help other people who do complementary type of services and say, hey, there's a much better way to make a much bigger impact on your students. I'd love to show you how. So, I'm trying to now, as I'm going through it, quantify what are the steps of translating traditional PDF Zoom material. How do you translate that into immersive 3.0 metaverse experiences? So if I can do it and then quantify it, I can turn and then have something that's repeatable and help other coaches in this space, start establishing their own presence in what they do, in the metaverse as well.
Have you thought about doing that on the Onyx campus?
Yep. Yeah. As I get more familiar with it, and Amelin kind of helps me understand like the dynamics of connecting to, Onyx University and stuff. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely want to play with Jay and making a space for teens and young adults on campus. And my vision is exactly what he has right now, is terms of let's help them establish first their identity. You know, when we bring out all these possibilities to them, it's no longer the identities defined by your, just your parents and your neighborhood and your culture. Now, wow, the world is open to us. So that individual identity is going to be so important. So helping them do that, but having also this kind of new technology or space that they can start getting immersed in, because once you're in the space, as you know, Jay, the possibilities just keep popping everywhere. It's bridging them from the old world into this new world, right?
Yeah.
It didn't seem that you had to put too much effort into getting them to bridge into it, to be open to it.
Yeah, I mean, no, not at all. And again, I think working with a group of students in the next couple of weeks, that'll really be telling. And what I'm trying to do now is anything I'm doing with teens in the metaverse. I'm asking them to like take little surveys to try to like really hear their voice as far as what they're experiencing. I mean, I can observe and say, hey, they're having a great time, and but I want them to have a voice to say, to let others know, hey, this is why it's so meaningful. This is how being in that space actually impacts me. So I'm starting to collect that information, that data from them as I'm working with them in this space.
Yeah, I think that opens up a lot of possibilities for others that want to work with you in that realm too. Like I teach at the college and we use an LMS, a learning management system, right? And like you said, it's 2D. We have do this. Here's your reading. Then answer these questions. Do this. Here's your reflection questions. Watch this video. Yes. But we're not quite there yet in flipping to the metaverse. So I've asked, can we just jump in? I'm all about let's go first. And then they're like lifeguards. I mean, life vest, Amelin, life vest. Security. Let's talk about that. Have you experienced anything that concerns you, or do you have thoughts of security in these spaces? Because that's the big thing when we work with teenagers is being under the age of 18 is everybody's like, how do we protect them from the big bad world?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I probably haven't thought too much about it. The space, like, because the work I do now, it's a closed space. Like I know who's coming in. They have to register. I mean, my clients, it's a very controlled environment. So it's not like, hey, anyone could be in here. Like I know that the people who are in there with me, regardless of what they use as far as their avatar name, I know who that is. I have to know who that is. I'll address them by their avatar name, but I need to know who that student is. For those safety measures. I mean, the parents that I work with, they're entrusting their kids, their teenagers to me, saying, "Hey, I'm letting them go with you. They know me." And so they're entrusting them to be with me. And so I mean, I think it's a huge issue, and honestly, I haven't had to really think about it because I'm in a more of a closed system right now, but I know it'll be something to think about, and actually think through in a good way to make sure young people are safe for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is still a controllable situation, right? Like you said, there's parameters that can put to keep them safe within that. But then also about now that you've introduced them to this Web 3.0 metaverse space, do you have conversations, or is that something you look towards to how to be a digital citizen now? Because it is different, right? Being behind an avatar than it is a person, and in collaboration. Have you had teams kind of combine together or talk to each other? Is that an experience you've had yet? Or
no?
Okay.
No, yeah. Right now, the only experience is just being in a metaverse space that's, private and locked, secure with my client to do the coaching. So I haven't had that kind of experience yet. Again, the couple of weeks we'll have a group doing that, but I haven't experienced that yet. No.
Oh, well, how exciting that this gets to be on the forefront, right? So if there's other people that are playing in those spaces already, that is something that we can gather and talk about and share experiences, is once we become avatars in the space, how do we show up you know, individually as good digital citizens as they've heard it
No,
recommended.
you know, my mind is going now that you're saying that. So yeah, that's a good point. I know at least the two students that I work with, that they had no experience with the metaverse up to this point. So I imagine it would be very different if I have someone who's kind of savvy in it and is much more advanced than I am. I'm sure it would be a very different experience, but you know, they say you just have to be half a step ahead of your student. And in this case, it really is true because I just been in this space as of a few weeks ago. So yeah, I that's so good. Digital citizen. That's a great word. That's a great phrase. Did you come up with that?
No. I don't
awesome.
come up with anything, right? There's this collective knowledge that just is in everything we're exposed to. I don't think we come up with anything anymore, hardly.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like
good. No, it's good. Good term.
But good. And then with Onyx University, you know, it is that campus that you can go on, and it basically I see it as, it's like I built a planet, right? There's this planet, but there's nothing on it. We need to build. And you mentioned building these frame spaces because they're not like the traditional campus. It's, you can go to Mars, you can go to wherever you want, Hawaii, you can go, you know, think of a place, imagine a place. But having the structure that they know where to go, where to show up, right? Have you had conversations with teenagers or that yet about, hey, let's find a place where we're all gathering? Or is it still just you're doing it? You're going to be gathering everybody together. Walk me through that. I guess I'm looking for a visual of once more of them get together. What does that look like? Yeah,
I mean, I'm using it in just a very limited way, you know, restricted way. It's just instead of having a group on Zoom, we're going to be a group inside the space that I've created. So it's an hour long. It'll be like an hour long training, very purposeful, very intentional. So I'm probably don't have much to give you there. Sorry.
Okay. No. That makes sense. We're all starting. It's all new, right? It would be the very first teen gathering that happens in the metaverse space. You know, like you're the pioneer. You're you're going there. So that's good to know. Aaron, what kind of thoughts do you have about specifically teens and careers with this metaverse space? Have you been, because you work with youth?
So I do. So the very thought is what led me to create not Creative Genius, Rhodes Academy for the Creative Arts of Tampa. So my mindset is exactly like you two in terms of helping teens and young adults find out what their what their interests are, where their passions lie. And so for me, I chose a very niche type path in just saying, hey, I'm going to offer educational experiences just in the arts, right? And helping them lead them into professional careers within the arts. That's why I created Rhodes Academy to help usher experiences to help students learn what's out there, because when you think of art, you just think it's just such of a broad term, right? You don't know the thousands of jobs that you can do as an artist. You don't have to, paint and sketch for a job. You can be an animator. You can be someone who goes in the courtroom and sketches, doing trial and jury trials. There's a plethora of things you can be in terms of music. You just don't have to play a single instrument. We can teach you within that instrument how to put together a production. So now you're doing scores for movies and animations. So they're just thousands of job opportunities within the arts that these kids, they just have no idea what's out there for them. So that was one of my big reasons for creating Rhodes Academy, and it still is. Except now we're talking about what can you do on your own as far as generating business as an NFT. So now that's an added bonus as far as what Rhodes Academy will be showing the students. How
Mhm.
can you grow your brand? How can you grow your business with NFT drops? So.
Mm.
Jay, are you finding that kind of direction as well with as you're having these career talks or interest talks with teens, that they're looking more in the individual paths rather than I'm going to go get a job, or what are you finding?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's often split. And we try to help them in the coaching find fits for their wiring, and some of those fits can be diverse. So you know, yeah. So usually when students are coming to me, it's like I have no idea what to do. So that's what I do. I focus exclusively on helping you find fits based on your wiring. So they're not coming to me saying, "Man, I'm really into this. Help me to." I work with teenagers who are massively confused and don't have a
No clue.
Right. So they don't have any ambitions. They don't have any directions. That's
Right.
what come from me. So again, sorry, I'm coming up short again on
No, that's good. That's good.
Some content for that. I'm not seeing like particular drives in any direction. I think entrepreneurism, solopreneurism is, I mean, studies I've read, it has definitely been on the rise in general, but especially among young people.
Right.
So I think more and more young people are realizing I could do my own thing. Like there's so many ways, like I don't have to fit into a box or into that, again, monolithic, linear trajectory of a career. Like I could just go do my own thing and actually be successful. So I think with young people, more and more, they're realizing that that's an option.
Yeah, we really. Oh, go ahead.
So you know what? To me, that says that our educational system has done a very, very poor job on helping teens understand what their passions are about.
Absolutely,
that's what education is about.
Yep.
You're supposed to inspire these kids on what they're passionate about, and the fact that these teens are coming to you with no drive, no ambition, no direction for as far as what they want to do. That just says a lot about our education system, how poor we've equipped our children that are our future.
Yeah, that's going to some of the root. We'll get down deep when you start talking about that, as you should,
right?
Because the high schools are typically college prep, and our whole society is on this. You're always better off going to college after high school. I mean, I said earlier that there's a couple of really strong antiquated paradigms. The singular linear idea of career is one of them, but so is, man, you're going to be better off going to college. I mean, that I can't curse on the slide. Sorry. That stuff is so antiquated. But man, I'm telling you, like my parents are so like eyeballs deep in that paradigm. It's just so hard for them to realize, really, Johnny might be actually worse off if he goes to college. Statistically, he will be. Statistics are not in Johnny's favor to graduate in 4 years and actually use the degree that he just earned. Statistics are not in his favor, right? But, parents are stuck on that. And yeah. And by the way, I want to just, Aaron, on your comment, I just want to say, for listening audience who might be career counselors in schools, man, I met some and their heart breaks over the fact that they can't do what they want to do. It's often shedding no negative light on them. It's that, in a ratio of 1 to 200, realistically. And so, I mean, I know people in that space and they want things to be different and they want young people to find their passion and the fit and help them, but their hands are tied. I mean, it's the system. It's not some of those people in the system.
I've been there. I'm an educator now. I've been educated. I've been inside the classrooms.
You get it.
I know how handcuffed you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was another reason why I created Rose Academy, because I wanted to do things different. With Education 3.0, and this is where me and Amlin kind of hit it off right off the bat. There is room, there is necessity for reform in education.
Yep.
And so that's what we're doing. Because we need to.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I really align with what you guys said is I work with first year college students and dual enrollment high school students. So they're going to college while they're going to high school, which I think is smart, right? They're the same classes. You might as well take them. But one of the things is that they still are prescribed to our whole life, be it society, culture, parents, whatever, is we still need to be the engineers, doctors, teachers, you know, and you know this, ONET, I don't know, Jay, I'm sure you've been there, the Department of Labor's career thing, we all drive them to that institutionally, you know, they're like, hey, they have to do research, they have to find their job, their salary, but it's a very, find a way that you can fit into what we offer you. And now we're saying, wait a minute, we're not offering things to people anymore. It's just not, you know, that's that great resignation that happened where what we had to offer wasn't really pleasant.
Right.
So now it's a matter of these teens and these young adults saying, I know that what you used to offer me is not going to be sufficient. But I have never been taught how to work from the inside out. I have not listened to myself because every single time when I was a kid and I was into art or video games, I've been told that it's a waste and one day I'll have to grow up. So Jay, this is where I'm going to ask you, because I'm sure you've had this conversations. What do you think is the biggest pain point of these teens that are like, I don't know? What do you think is, you know, that foundation of them, from them?
Yeah, I think again, to your, you know, you said it well, they haven't learned to work from the inside out. And so, you know, I'll give an analogy. So recently, over this past spring, my wife and I were finally able to purchase bicycles. We live in a beautiful 22-mile rail trail, and we've said for years we have to buy bikes. Now we finished paying off college for one of our kids, and so we're like, we're going to go celebrate. We're actually going to get bikes. So I found out about this really small company in California, you know, beautiful story. The guy started with building his first bike in his garage, you know, that real gritty story of love it. Right. So I went to the website and I'm like, wow, like there's like so many bikes and different versions of the same bike. I was so overwhelmed. I literally said, it's late. I don't have the capacity to make a decision with all of these options. So I came back the next day and I went on, and thankfully up in the right-hand corner, there was a little button and it said, find your fit. I said, oh, this is fantastic. I said, let me click the button because I'm overwhelmed right now. I want to find my fit. So I clicked the button and they had a couple of prompts. You know, they asked me, what's your height, what's your weight, what's your age? How are you intending to use the bicycle? And in just a few inputs, it went from maybe 70 bicycles. Here's 4. And you know what? You know what, guys? I didn't say, oh, but wait a minute. Before there was 70, now there's only 4. I want more choices. I was thrilled to go from 70 to 4 that I knew would actually fit. So I didn't waste my time.
Yeah, you go.
Looking at things that weren't even an option because they weren't going to wind up fitting me.
Right.
So that to me is a wonderful analogy of what's not happened with teenagers. They don't know their inner wiring, so they don't know how to find fits. So guess what comes on the page as they approach graduating high school? 40,000 options. And they say, you know, it's the you know, paralysis of analysis. They just short circuit. It's like, I don't even know where to start. There's so many options. How the hell do I figure this out? Right. And so they just shut down. And then they have nagging parent. You got, you know, you're a junior in high school. You know, you need to start thinking about applying for college. And they're like, then they just close down even more because they have all this pressure to figure it out. You know, parents always tell me, I ask a question when they come into my Facebook group. I say, what is one of the greatest challenges that are facing you as a parent in trying to help your kid figure out life after 12? And hands down, consistently, they won't even talk to me about it.
Wow.
They don't talk because they're just so overwhelmed. And I just try to help parents. I say, listen, imagine a topic, right? A topic that when you hear this topic, it triggers off severe anxiety, fear, worry in you. How likely are you to want to talk about that topic when someone else wants to talk about that topic with you? You're going to avoid that thing like the plague. That's what your kids are doing. It's you know, just this whole this whole issue of figuring out life after 12 is so overwhelming. They're so shut down over it. Don't expect them to want to talk about it because it triggers all kinds of serious anxiety, you know? But the parent doesn't live with that pain point of anxiety. I call it a secondhand pain point. You know, it's not like the parent is trying to solve their own problem. I got to lose 10 pounds. I got to do this. I need to do this. And they live with it. Their kids live with it, though. Their teenagers live with the reality of not knowing what to do, not having a clue. But because they don't live with it directly, it's not as significant to deal with for parents. You know,
and they have that intense worry, right? If I don't do this, my kid will not succeed. And they feel like I must push them harder. And then that harder pushes them even away. So it is kind of a catch-22 in this situation.
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah. You know, and then parents don't want to, you know, like, God forbid their kid would just like not do anything for the first year of high school and, you know, recover from high school and then have their wits about them. You know, it's like, no, you're going to, if you don't do something right after high school, you'll never amount to anything. That's the slippery slope into insignificance. It's like, wow. Okay. So try to deal with that.
Yeah. So let's talk really quick about the survival versus thriving game. That's the conversations that I really like to pose to my students, because when they're coming out into the world to find their place, it's immediately a survival game, right? How do I make it work? And then after I retire, maybe I can go after my life worth living, right? But right now, how do I survive? So as you're helping students, especially because it's life work, right? You are talking about sustenance. You do need energy returned to you so that you can expel it in your life expression. But how do you speak in terms of that with especially what's happening now in our economy and all that? Let's talk about the survival versus thriving game. I'd love to take your perspective on that. Yeah, having conversations about, you know, expression, surviving, and thriving specifically.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things that we do in the coaching is we find fits for the young person's wiring, right? So does this fit your innate wiring? But fitting their
get some clarification on that. Is that like multiple intelligence? Is it more like personality, characteristics, skill sets? To what?
Yeah.
Without giving away your whole formula.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. I don't mind sharing it all. So the assessment tool I use, again, that is evidence-based from behavior, it doesn't rely on their answers to questions. It finds 5 core areas of their wiring that specifically relate to and directly tie into life work. So I won't go through all of them for the sake of time, but what we call happy abilities. So these are different than aptitudes, because you can be really like amazing at something and hate it, and it would show up on your aptitude test. We don't find those because you don't want to do things that you're good at but hate doing, right? So the assessment finds happy abilities. It finds things like, what do you need in the work context that will trigger and sustain your intrinsic motivation? So what is the activator that you need present that is going to like make you start moving without a dangling carrot? And then what are the factors in a working environment while you're in the process of achieving? What are the factors that will keep you enthusiastically engaged in your work? Do you need high structure, no structure? Do you need recognition or behind the scenes? There's a handful of key factors that are proven to be sustainers of motivation and work. So again, for sake of time, those are 2, but there's 3 other ones that we can find out through an objectively verifiable process. And so when we find out their wiring, I just call it career DNA. It's because there's a lot of stuff about your wiring that you can find out that's really insightful and helpful, not necessarily related to finding life work fits. So this tool boils it down to the 5 essentials for life work fits. And that's what we find out about clients. But career positions should align with their wiring, but it also has to honor what we call the needs, limitations, and their values. Because you can have a career position that's a great fit for your wiring, but it is not honoring a value that you have. It might cause you to violate a personal value, and it might be a good fit, but it's not a good choice. Because a good choice needs to also say, what are your needs What are your limitations? What are your values? And a career or life work position needs to respect and honor those as much as it does, as much as it needs to fit your wiring, right? So one of the things we talk about is income. Like, if we find a handful of fits, but now let's go to the salary range and let's just be realistic about this, so that if you think about how you want to live, this option is actually going to facilitate that. And you're not going to be in like oh my gosh, I got to survive. But ahead, if you go into this path that's a fit for you, it's also going to result in this, opportunity for income, and it will allow you to live at a certain level.
That is, you're taking thriving first, and then understanding that if you can thrive, and obviously you're being realistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that survival, you don't really have to have that conversation other than is it a fit? A thriving is that holistic way. A survival is just, I don't care, what do I need to do? Sometimes life sucks and I've got to make money.
Yeah.
But that thriving, you made sure it fit in so many dynamics. That's
right.
beautiful.
Yeah. And so I always say, and I'm not a big fan of follow your passion for several reasons. But I say follow your pattern. So whatever this pattern is that emerges in you, that's really who you are, that's what you follow. And passion is always the caboose of a fit. If you find a fit, that's the locomotive. That's what moves your life along. Passion is the caboose. It'll fall into line. So if you pursue something that aligns with your wiring, passion will always be present. But the reverse is not true. I know a lot of people that follow their passion and they're miserable and they suck at it. And it's like, but I follow my passion. Well, passion is a byproduct of fit. When it really fits you, you'll have passion for it because it gives you success because you have the happy abilities that aligned. It'll give you motivation and it will give you fulfillment. If you have those three things in your life work, you'll be passionate about that.
Wow.
So passion is always a byproduct of fit in my universe, in my philosophy. I know not everyone agrees with that, and that's fine, but that's how I see it.
No, 100%. I mean, I'm learning from you already, Jay, because I do purpose workshops, right? We're about finding people's purpose, which is kind of like you're saying fit, but we do rely on, but we do, again, rely on life needs to be worth living. So we define what would make it worth living first. And then we try to find that fit. So I can't wait to play with you. So I do want to ask if you could tell, we have the parents watching, we have the educators watching, we have the employers watching. What would you want to tell them as far as to give them hope? When they're struggling, their teens are struggling. Be it employers, be it the learner themselves, teenagers. What's the hope message you have for all of them? And if it has to be different for each one, that's okay.
Wow, that's a good question. Well,
Let's start with the teen.
I'll do my best to answer that on the fly. I'm a processor, but that's okay. So I think that the message to the teen and to the parent is probably very similar because that's who I trek with, and that is you. If you're listening, you're a teenager, or if you're a parent of a teenager, your teenagers are wired for awesomeness. Like. Every teenager, I don't care who they are wired to be awesome somewhere.
They are.
It's not just one place. I call it a handful of fits. There are a handful of life work fits, and your teenager would be awesome there in that place. Everyone has those. So I like to say that as a word of hope to young people, because sometimes young people that they try something, or they're, even like post high school students that are, college age, and they dropped out of college and I've worked with clients that have been weighed down by saying, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And I'm like, we got to reframe that whole deal. It's not a matter of what's wrong with you. It's a matter of what's right with you that you haven't found a fit for yet. So we got to change the narrative. We got to flip that. It's not what's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. We just haven't found a fit that's right for you because you're wired a certain way. Once we honor that inner essence and respect it and let that guide you, you're going to be in a place where you can experience success and fulfillment and motivation. It is there. but you have to look inside to understand how to get there. And so that would be my word of encouragement and hope to parents and young people. Like, they're wired for awesomeness. You just let it start from who they are. I always say that getting into fulfilling life work is about identity, not ambition, right? It's about who you are, not what you want. It's about who you are, not what you want. Identity, not ambition. And instead of spending all this time with these ambitious goals and these, lofty ideas, I want my kid to be this, or I want to be this, like, spend that much energy and that much time and really coming to a healthy self-understanding and awareness of who you are, because then you'll know the types of things you're wired to do in this world.
Oh man,
it'll be so fulfilling.
You're preaching. We need an organ.
Yeah.
No, that's
well,
perfect.
I used to be a minister, so watch out.
Oh, okay.
Everything
Okay.
starts
We
with
can get
soul.
it going on, bro. We'll get it going on right here.
About to break out the organ.
I get fired up for this because
I see.
so
But
many
that's
young
good, though.
people, so many young people are so down on themselves. They're so discouraged.
Yes,
They're
they are.
so racked with anxiety, wondering, will I ever be anything? Will I ever make something of myself? And man, young people are not hearing this message of, man, like, you're wired for greatness. Let it come out. We got to find how you're wired.
Absolutely.
And they need to hear that. They need to hear that. It's so important.
1000%. All right, let's move on to the employer and the educator. A little bit removed from that teenager,
Yeah.
but still have a lot of, ideas of what success is for them.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I got to be honest. I probably, man, I don't feel like I have a lot to say on this angle because I don't trek in those realms as much. One of the things I've done some consulting work with some companies, just kind of on a side thing to help out a friend. And I actually had an experience that made me think about young people and even in employment. And that is, like, if you're an employer and you have a young person where character-wise, they're just outstanding, and they have qualities that are just really fantastic for a young person. If you come to understand their wiring, you can actually hold on to them in your organization and actually craft a position for them based on how they're wired. That's actually what I did in this company. There was a person that I needed to work with. I worked on the assessment with them, and then we literally crafted a position around the person because the owner of the company didn't want to let go of the person, but they weren't really fitting in what they were currently doing. And so, maybe one thing I could say just from that experience is, if you have a young person, that's fantastic, but they might not be fitting in a particular role, they're valuable. If you find a young person who is delightful and who can actually dialogue and have eye contact with another real human being and can form a complete sentence, if you can find a young person like that, hold on to them.
Absolutely.
Hold on to them no matter what they're doing, and invest in helping them understand themselves, and invest in you understanding them, and make a position for them, because they're so valuable. They're so valuable. So make a position for them. And if you know their wiring, you could say, we've learned this, and this about you. And in our organization, we can make a place, because this is how your unique design can take expression here and actually benefit us, and you can contribute to the health and to our, what our mission is as an organization. Now, that's obviously would take a huge desire on the part of the employer, but hold on to those valuable young people and then help them find a place, craft a place for them in your organization.
Perfect for Web 3.0. Perfect for all of these creations happening in Web 3.0, right? It really does hold that youth energy, but being able to have them fit and provide value. That's what we're all doing in our collaborations, right? Trying to solve problems and provide value. So that is amazing. Okay, I have one last thing, and then we'll wrap this up. Is where's the best place for people to find you? And we will include all the links and all of that too. But where do you live? Where's your realm of contact?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm all over all the platforms, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, lifeafter12.com. If parents want to, hey, I'm really interested in kind of learning about the coaching. I prefer to connect with parents first in my private Facebook group. We're almost at a 2K group right now. And so it's Life After 12 is the private Facebook group. So if you're a parent of a career confused teen or young 20 something, that's where I prefer to connect, because then I do free weekly training on the key issues. I'm always like, people have access to me constantly in there. They book calls all the time. I don't try to sell stuff. It's really just to say, hey, can I help you? So I love really just kind of, providing that kind of value and connecting with parents. And the Facebook group is probably the best place if they really want to connect. But I have a presence on all the, social media platforms, usually as Life After 12.
Awesome. And I'm going to speak to the Web 3.0, the Onyx University citizens members, is that if you want to play in that space with Jay and myself, I'll be partnering with him. We're going to be working with teens and young adults, that 13 to 24 kind of window, to help them within this space well. So we are interested in others joining us. This is not like one person doing things. It's all about community. So we want parents, we want educators, we want employers. And I learned that from another podcast, by the way, Voice Ed. Everybody listen to that one too. But we do need more than just educators in Web 3.0. We need everybody. We need the learners, the parents, the educators, and the employers. So if you're any of those and you want to work with teens or young adults, then definitely connect with us, and we'll be within Onyx University, and we'll be playing. And Aaron, you work with even younger kids, right? You're like that 13 down, or is it 8 years old? What age?
I just say K through 12.
K through 12.
Yeah, so school age kids. Also some young adults too. So I'm not just going to pigeonhole so young adults too. So teenagers and young adults. That's really where my audience is. I resonate with them the most. However, they were once in elementary and middle school too. So I can't let
There you go. There you go. Well, Jay, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing the message. This is like, people just got to know that this is happening. And we want everybody to join in with us, right? A new game has opened up, a lot of opportunities, and we have a big passion, but desire to serve our future generations. And that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Any last words from anybody else? Give the floor to y'all.
Oh, Aaron, I just want to get to connect with you more, because if I have students and that whole realm seems like, something that would be a good fit for them, and you're niching down on helping them really unpack and explore within that world, I would love to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have to connect more, brother. Okay. All right. Right on. Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Well, help the whole planet, right? We got all angles. That's what the beauty of community. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And then we'll post this by Wednesday is normally what we do.
Yes.
By Wednesday.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right, guys. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.